Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we have a seriously important topic to unpack. We are looking at why true operational excellence in the cloud is a continuous journey and definitely not a static destination. If you've ever felt like your engineering team is, constantly chasing the horizon, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down exactly how the best engineering organizations build platforms that actually get stronger every single day. Okay, let's dive right into this with a question that trips up so many enterprise teams. Does operational excellence end once you've migrated to the cloud? It's a provocative question, for sure, because there is this massive industry misconception that migration equals completion. You know the drill. You pop the champagne, you celebrate the cutover, and you just sort of assume the hard work is over. But the reality? The answer is a resounding no. It is literally just the beginning. Getting to the cloud is a fantastic milestone, don't get me wrong, but it's really just the starting line. Think about it. If you stop improving the day after your migration, your platform immediately begins falling behind. Technology evolves, customer expectations absolutely skyrocket, security threats become more sophisticated by the hour, and, well, business priorities shift. Basically, if you aren't moving forward in the cloud, you are moving backward. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the myth of being done, define operational excellence, cover the 5 core pillars, walk through a Google Cloud architecture example, look at best practices and metrics, and finally wrap up with the continuous engineering journey. Starting with section 1, the myth of being done. Remember, it's not a destination. Take a look at these common finish line myths. You see a team finally migrating to the cloud, or maybe they just finished implementing infrastructure as code, building out CI/CD pipelines, deploying Kubernetes, or automating their core operations. Now, let's be clear, these are incredible, highly technical achievements, but treating them as a finished project rather than an ongoing capability, that is a really dangerous trap. When you view these as one-and-done projects, your organization just quietly accumulates technical debt, leaving you brittle and totally unable to adapt when the business suddenly needs you to pivot. Moving to section 2. Defining operational excellence. It's all about continuous discipline. So the crucial point we need to anchor on is this definition right here. Operational excellence is the ability to consistently deliver reliable, secure, scalable, and efficient services while continuously improving engineering practices. The business value here is just massive. The objective isn't just keeping the lights on. It's about delivering better customer outcomes with absolutely every single iteration. It's about building a culture where everyone is constantly asking, hey, can we automate this? Can we reduce our recovery time? Can we make our engineers more productive? I want to read this quote directly from our source material because it really just hits the nail on the head. The best cloud architects don't measure success by how stable today's platform is. They measure success by how much better tomorrow's platform will become. Cloud-native platforms aren't just built once and forgotten. They are refined continuously. Perfection isn't the goal here. Continuous improvement is. Let's look at section 3, the 5 core pillars. These are your foundational practices. These 5 pillars are the absolute bedrock of operational maturity. First, automation, because let's face it, manual processes introduce inconsistency and risk. Second, observability. You simply cannot improve what you cannot measure, so you have to rely on metrics, logs, traces, and synthetic monitoring for proactive decision-making. Third is learning from incidents, where failures are actually treated as opportunities. Fourth, standardization, using things like naming conventions and platform templates to rein in complexity as you scale. And finally, continuous optimization, because cost optimization, performance tuning, and security improvements, those never actually stop. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast we see out there in the enterprise world. Static environments, the ones that treat migration as a finish line, they just accumulate technical debt over time. Their architecture might have been picture-perfect 6 months ago, but now it's a liability. Versus dynamic environments, which continuously adapt and remain resilient. When an organization actually commits to continuous improvement, they handle new customer traffic, shifting regulatory requirements, and emerging security threats seamlessly. Section 4, Google Cloud Architecture. Let's take this from theory to practice. Consider a typical SaaS platform running on Google Cloud. You've got your global external application load balancer, handling traffic routing. You have Cloud Run sitting at your compute layer. You're using Cloud SQL and Cloud Storage for your data. You've got Terraform and Cloud Build powering your infrastructure as code and CI/CD pipelines. And of course, you have cloud monitoring and logging providing observability. Now, getting these robust tools deployed is fantastic. But again, it's merely step 1 of the engineering journey. Now, what's really fascinating here is seeing how a platform matures over time. In its initial state, you might have all those Google Cloud services running, sure, but deployments still require manual approvals. Your monitoring is only looking at basic server metrics, and your incident documentation is, well, totally inconsistent. But look at the mature state. Through continuous improvement, that exact same team now uses Terraform for full automation, CI/CD for deployments, SLO dashboards for real user journeys, and FinOps practices to aggressively optimize costs. The crucial takeaway here is that the architecture itself changed only incrementally. They didn't scrap the whole system and rebuild it from scratch. Instead, their operational maturity improved dramatically through continuous refinement. That evolution from manual tasks to automated infrastructure provisioning, achieved sprint by sprint, is exactly what true operational excellence looks like in the wild. On to Section 5, Best Practices and Metrics, how we actually measure improvement. Operational excellence isn't just some abstract vibe, right? It's reflected in daily engineering practices and very measurable outcomes. High-performing teams consistently demonstrate frequent, low-risk deployments. They have a blazing fast mean time to recovery, or MTTR. They have incredibly low change failure rates. Their automation coverage is high, and their disaster recovery processes are battle-tested and rock-solid. You don't get these metrics from one massive, isolated transformational project. You get them from daily discipline. A huge part of hitting those metrics relies on how a team handles failure, because failures are inevitable. But successful organizations, they turn them into strengths through these 4 steps. First, blameless postmortems. We aren't hunting for a scapegoat here. We are hunting for system flaws. Second, thorough root cause analysis. Third, strict action tracking to ensure the fixes actually get deployed. And fourth, knowledge sharing across the entire organization. Every single incident is a literal opportunity to strengthen the platform. Conversely, we really need to be aware of the common mistakes that stunt long-term platform maturity. Organizations so often fall into the trap of focusing exclusively on technology instead of the human processes around it. They ignore their operational metrics until something breaks. They delay automation, saying, oh, we'll automate that later when things calm down. They skip post-incident reviews because they are quote-unquote too busy. And honestly, worst of all, they measure success only by uptime. Uptime is great, but if your team is totally burning out just to keep those lights on, you do not have operational excellence. Finally, Section 6, a continuous engineering journey, building for tomorrow. Let's wrap up our perspective today with one final quote from the source material. Operational excellence is not defined by the absence of incidents. It is defined by how effectively an organization responds, learns, and improves. The most successful cloud platforms on the planet are literally never considered complete. They are continuously optimized after every single deployment, after every outage, and after every customer interaction. Ultimately, the objective for modern cloud architects is not to eliminate change. Locking down a system so tightly that developers can even ship features, that is a failure of architecture. The real goal is to make change safe, measurable, and completely repeatable. Organizations that embrace this continuous improvement, prioritizing heavy automation and deep observability, consistently outpace competitors who view operational maturity as just a one-time achievement. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on. What continuous improvement has had the absolute biggest impact on your engineering organization? Think about the small, incremental changes your team has made that ended up yielding massive operational dividends. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning, keep iterating, and remember that when it comes to the cloud, the journey truly is the destination. Catch you next time.